Hello friends, welcome to chapter number 8 of our social studies portion. The chapter name is The Role of Parliament in a Democratic Country. So two main words we are going to see about this Parliament and a democratic country. So what does democracy mean and what is a parliament, right? We know that a democratic country is a form of government where people elect their own leaders and the leaders rule the country or govern the country in the name of the people or for the people, by the people and of the people, right? That is the definition of democracy. And parliament is a body where the representatives of the people, the members of parliament who are sent by the people from all over the country, they sit and they formulate laws and they help in management of the country. So now question comes, who gives the power to the government to take decisions and to implement laws? And the answer to this question depends on what type of government is there in that particular country. If it were a monarchy, means the king rules over the country. If it's a monarchy, then the king has complete power by right of being a king. People don't give him the power. Right? King can say, I am king because God made me king. So God has given me the power and I can rule as I want. If it's a dictatorship, the dictator will say that the military gives me power, right? Military rule is dictatorship. So the military gives him power, right? So in a democracy, the people give power, right? So in a democracy, the ultimate power is vested in the people and it is exercised directly by them or by their elected agents. The elected agents are the ministers. So our ministers have the power given to them by the people of the country. What do people do? People elect their leaders by casting votes. So they vote. And their leaders form the government. And what does the government do? Government will give clarification and provide reasons for the decisions undertaken. So government will have to decide things. Government will take steps and people will ask the government, tell us why you did this. Give reasons for your behavior, for your decision. Right? So that is in democracy, right? In monarchy, what happens? All powers are in the hands of the king or queen. And king or queen discuss the matter with a group of advisors. They may discuss only, but the power to take decision lies with the king or queen. The most important characteristic of a democracy is that the sole power or power to rule is not in the hands of one person or a group of people. It is not in the hands of these people. Every citizen is a member in the decision making process. So people themselves are the creator of their destiny. In Gujarati, the word democracy means Lok Shahi, government by the people. So you can see democratic government is for the people. गवर्नमेंट लोगों के लिए है. इसका मीनिंग क्या है? द वेलफेयर ऑफ द पीपल, लोगों का उद्धार, लोगों का भला, इज द मेन एम ऑफ द गवर्नमेंट. हाउ डू पीपल रन द गवर्नमेंट? तो डेमोक्रेसी इज रन बाय पीपल as the representatives elected by the people run the administration. The representatives are our ministers who we elect to form the government. So the ministers who are elected in the election, there is a election where people vote, and the person who gets the maximum votes becomes a minister. Okay, and he or she or the group of ministers administer the country. Now look at this table. The forms of government can be monarchy, democracy, and even I gave one more name, right? I gave the word dictatorship. Dictatorship, right? In a monarchy, the king or queen will rule the country. In a dictatorship, the dictator, the military leader, the leader of the military, that's a dictator, right, will rule the country. In a democracy, elected representatives of the people rule the country. Now there are two forms of democracy: presidential type of government and parliamentary type of government. Okay. In a presidential form of government, now also there are two types of government: unitary and federal. Right? Unitary and federal. When a country is small, for a small country, only government at one level is fine. Let's say I have this country. So in this country, a small country, a central city, one person or a group of ministers in one area can take care of the entire country. So they have a unitary government where only one level. So in a small country, there's only one level of government. That's called unitary. In a larger country, let's say a country is big. Now in this case, it is not possible for one person sitting here to manage the entire country. Like say in India, in Delhi, if the government is in Delhi, what will happen to the people living in Kerala or Nagaland? They are so far from Delhi. Even from Gujarat, so far from Delhi. So it's not possible. So in such a case, we have a center and we have a state government. So there are two types of government. One in the center for the entire country, and then the state for the states. Both are working together. Both are also independent. So that's called federal government. So in this case, what happens? The entire country can be divided into parts. Let's say in this case 4 parts, and each part will have its own capital and own government. At the same time, there may also be one central government also for the entire country. So this green dot governs the entire country. That's the central government, and the orange dots show the state governments, right? So that's a federal system where center and state will function. Now in a democracy, there are two types of democratic governments. One is presidential government, where the president is elected by the people. So I'll take another page and explain this two types of government. Okay, so we have the presidential form and we have the parliamentary form. What happens up here? See, people are the supreme, right? So let's take people at the head, at the top, in both cases. Right? In a presidential form of government, people elect the president of the country directly, and the president will either appoint ministers and collectively they will govern the country. So it's a presidential form of government. In a parliamentary form of government, people elect the member of parliament. People elect the member of parliament. In India, it is the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha. Okay. So member of parliament is elected by people. The member of parliament will further the leader of the majority. Right? The leader of the majority in the parliament will form the prime minister. Will elect the prime minister, means will select the prime minister and the council of ministers. So prime minister and his council is not elected directly by the people. People elect the member of parliament, the MP, and the MPs elect the Prime Minister. At the same time, we also have a president, which is again elected by the member of parliament and the states also in the federal system, right? In a federal system, we have a state also. So we have a central government and state government. So president is elected, and the president is the head of the entire executive and the legislature. Right? So Prime Minister is elected by the member of parliament who are elected by the people. So it's a parliamentary form of government where parliament is supreme and the Prime Minister gets his power from the parliament. While in a presidential form of government, the president directly is elected, like in USA. In USA at present, the president is Mr. Joe Biden, right? So Joe Biden was elected directly by the people. Donald Trump lost the election of 2020, right? So from 2021, so when I am making this video, Joe Biden is not yet the president. He is the president nominee or appointee. He will become the president from January 16, 2021, right? So people elected him directly. In India, in 2018, if I'm not wrong, 2019, right? There was a parliamentary election. People elected the parliament, Lok Sabha, and from them, our Prime Minister Narendra Modi, right, became the leader of the majority party in the parliament, and he became the Prime Minister. So parliamentary form of government and presidential form of government. And then we have the which two other forms? Which two other forms, friends? I said it's either is a federal structure or a unitary structure. Federal structure is a combination of center plus state. In unitary, it is only the central government. State are not there. So federal structure is found in the large countries. Unitary structure in the small countries, where it is easy to govern, right? So country is small. Why do we require government at two different levels? Right? We don't require any states or provinces. One is fine. In a large country, we have this both structures. Okay. So coming back to the topic now. So people vote, right? People vote where? In the elections. So elections are held every 5 years in India. People vote, and after voting, what happens? The member of parliament are elected, right? Member of parliament are elected, and the leader of the party, I'll draw again. Yeah, the leader of the party that wins the majority of seats becomes the Prime Minister, and then he selects members from the group of elected representatives, means the MPs, to form the Council of Ministers. And these ministers, the Council of Ministers, are assigned various departments and duties, right? So Prime Minister is like the captain who decides, who selects his team from the member of parliament only. So the question comes, how is the parliament formed? So India has adopted a parliamentary form of democracy. The parliament is the supreme institution in India, means main institute in India. The parliament consists of the president and then the two houses. Lower house is called Lok Sabha, upper house is called Rajya Sabha. So Lok Sabha, lower house, Rajya Sabha is upper house. Actually, it is a wrong thing to say it's a lower house and upper house. Lok Sabha has more power than the Rajya Sabha. Rajya Sabha represents the states. That is why it is called the Rajya Sabha. And Lok Sabha represents people. It is not a lower house. Actually, why the lower house came? Because in US, in England, from whom we have taken our constitution to some extent, our parliamentary form to some extent, they have the House of Commons and House of Lords. House of Lords are the upper people, upper communities in the society, the lords, the kings, the dukes, the lords, right? And the common people from the House of Commons. So in England we have House of Lords and House of Commons, upper house and lower house, and that is why when we have two houses we call one upper house and other lower house. But that actually it is wrong. Rajya Sabha represents the states of India and Lok Sabha represents people directly. So our structure, now this diagram is wrong, na friends, you see, this is wrong. This should be like this. The president is at the top. President is above the parliament, and then parliament is formed two houses. Lok Sabha having 545 members total, out of which 26 members are from Gujarat, and Rajya Sabha total 250 members, out of 11 members are from Gujarat. So 11 seats of these 250 will be from Gujarat. 26 seats out of 545 will be from Gujarat. So total members are 545 here and 250 here. These are the maximum. These are the max figures, right? Maximum figures. And there's no minimum also. They have to be this much only. Now, you see, people are involved in this because this whole thing is elected. People elect here. People will not elect Rajya Sabha members directly. They come from the states. So, states elect the Rajya Sabha members. But again, people elect the state member of legislative assemblies. Member of legislative assemblies of the state are elected by people, who in turn elect the members of Rajya Sabha. So ultimately, goal firke to it all starts with people only. Indirectly, directly. See, Lok Sabha directly by people, Rajya Sabha indirectly by people. So you see, now the parliament enjoys complete power. Why? Because it is made up of the elected representatives of the people only, of the nation. So what are the functions of parliament? Number one, to control the government. I will say, isn't parliament the government? No, my friends. Now, you see, when I told you, the Prime Minister and Council of Ministers, this is the government. So, this is the government. Got it? This is the government. The Prime Minister and Council form the government, not the not the parliament. Parliament is from where the government comes. Okay, parliament is where the government comes. So, to control the government and to provide information and guidance to the government, and to make laws and make amendments, changes to the laws. That is why the parliament is called the legislature or legislative. See, our government is functioning on three arms. The legislative, made of the parliament, the executive, made of the Prime Minister and the Council of Ministers at the center, and the state chief minister and his Council of Ministers, executive, who will execute the laws. And we have the judiciary, the courts, High Court and Supreme Court and the lower courts, right? So three arms of the government, right? So you see, this is the pic of our parliament from outside, and this is a pic of the Lok Sabha. Right? How the Lok Sabha looks. There are two benches. See, up here is the government bench. I'll take a green color. Maybe you can see. Let's take pink color. This is the government. The government sits here. The ruling party sits here, and up here we have the opposition. Right? So the opposition can ask questions to the government, the ruling party. Now, how is the Lok Sabha formed? Next question. Lok Sabha is the house of the people. So the election for the Lok Sabha and even in the state legislative assembly, that's the Vidhan Sabha. The Lok Sabha in the center and the Vidhan Sabha at the state, they are conducted in the same way. Every 5 years the election are held. The country is divided into small parts. These parts are called constituencies. Right? And in each constituency, one elected member represents the constituency in the parliament. So, if the entire country is divided into parts, this one part will send only one member to the parliament. The second part, constituency, will send second member to the parliament. So, one constituency, one member. So, in Lok Sabha, we have 545 parts, right? So 545 parts of the country, and each member comes from each constituency only. So from Surat, two people cannot come then. If one member from Surat is there, finished, that's it. The candidates who contest the election for the parliament, they are from political parties, Congress, BJP, other parties, right? And the person is elected. The elected candidate is called member of parliament. Both for Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, they are called member of parliament. So these members, these 545 members, collectively form the Lok Sabha. Then from the Lok Sabha, after elections of Lok Sabha, the party-wise list of all the members of parliament is formed. So you calculate, okay, BJP, Congress, right? Let us say Trinamool Congress, Janata Dal, Samajwadi Party, etc., etc. All the parties of the country who contest the elections, their seats are counted. And let us say BJP got 20 seats. Congress got only a miserable 75. Trinamool Congress got another 80 seats. Let's say, chalo. Janata Dal 50 seats. Other parties, and totally out of 545 seats. Then they say, okay, now which party got the majority? What is half of 545? 273. So the party which gets majority, this is 273, that is the majority, right, of seats, will now form the government. So in this case, you see BJP got 320, that is more than 273. So BJP now will be invited to form the government. So if any party wants to form government, there should be a majority of elected members from that party. So the majority in this case is BJP. So BJP now is invited to form the government. The leader of the party or a coalition means even many parties coming together to fight the election, right? Like if let's say BJP got only 220 seats and it requires 273, so it requires 53 seats more. So BJP will go to Shiv Sena and some 2-3 other parties, and maybe collectively they'll form 273 margin, and they'll form the government. So it's called coalition, right? If they have a clear majority, in this case this amount, then that leader is appointed as Prime Minister in the Lok Sabha. So the Prime Minister of the country is the head of the ruling party. Ruling party means party which gets majority in the Lok Sabha, 273 plus seats. That any party who gets more than 273 or more seats in the Lok Sabha is called the ruling party. Okay, and the head of the ruling party is called Prime Minister. Then what happens? The Prime Minister now selects ministers from the member of his party or the coalition party, right? All the parties who fought the election together, that's called coalition. So Prime Minister now selects ministers from that party and forms the Council of Ministers. So the ministers with the Prime Minister now will take all decisions. They form the executive. Day-to-day work they will keep on doing. So they take care of the responsibility of the work related to their respective ministries, like Health Ministry, Education Ministry, Finance Ministry, etc. Each minister is responsible for any question related to his ministry to the member of parliament. Okay. So now look at these questions. Try to answer these questions, right? Next question is, how is Rajya Sabha formed? Rajya Sabha represents the states, right now friends? So the elected members of the legislative assembly of each state, see, the MLA, that is called member of legislative assembly. The MLAs of each state elect members for Rajya Sabha. 250 members are there, Rajya Sabha. Out of them, 238 are elected. See, 238 only are elected. 12 members are nominated by the President of India. They are not elected. Okay, remember this. 12 members are directly put by the president. 12 members of who are experts in different fields, like Sachin Tendulkar was nominated to the Rajya Sabha by the President of India. So he was an MP of Rajya Sabha, right? Because he was nominated among these 12 people. Now Rajya Sabha is a permanent house. Remember this very important thing. There are no elections in Rajya Sabha after 5 years. Why? Because it never gets dissolved completely. Why? Because 1/3 of the member of Rajya Sabha retire every 2 years. So after completing their 6 years, and the new member are included. So let's say I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's say I take 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Now Mr. A joins in year 1. So what will happen now? A and A. 6 years he retires, right? Oh, sorry, he will say, 6 years, right? Rajya Sabha term is 6 years. After that, A is no more. Now, suppose B joins appear. So, B will now be for year, right? Now, B will now be till year. So, you see, Rajya Sabha is still going on. Suppose C joins year. So, then C will continue for till 10th year. Right? Now, in place of A, let us say in the 7th year, we put Mr. D. So now D will now take it 6 years. So now D will be 6 years, but at that time B also has already 2 years remaining, and C has 4 years remaining. So when Mr. E comes, E now comes here, see. So he has only 4 years, he will do 2 more years. So you see, Rajya Sabha is not retiring at any one time. All members are not retiring. Only 2/3 members, 1/3 retire every 2 years. And then now new come. So every 2 years, 1/3 go away, another 1/3 come. After 4 years, 2/3 will go away, another come. After 6 years, the 3/3 goes away. Everybody else is new now. Rajya Sabha represents the states of the country. It can also propose a bill. It has all the functioning of the Lok Sabha also, right? To pass any bill, the consent of Rajya Sabha also is required. So Rajya Sabha will review the bill which is passed by Lok Sabha. So again, it has a very important role. Now the person who presides over the session of Rajya Sabha is known as chairman. The Vice President of India acts as the chairman of Rajya Sabha. Let's see. The Vice President of India, without any election, without any appointment, Indian Vice President is the chairman of the Rajya Sabha. In Lok Sabha, the Speaker is elected. Speaker is appointed by the Member of Parliament of the Lok Sabha, and Speaker is the head of the Lok Sabha. Okay, the Speaker is head of Lok Sabha. The Vice President of India is the chairman of the Rajya Sabha. So, which are the two houses? What are the function of Lok Sabha? What are the function and power of Prime Minister? Why Rajya Sabha never dissolved completely? And if you are a member of Parliament, what would you do for the people? And if you are a Prime Minister, what would you do for the welfare of people? These are the if questions. These are questions which have answers, right? Okay. Now, when the Parliament is in session, means when Parliament is working, at the beginning of the day, the time for the question hour is decided upon. So where questions can be asked. So during question hour, the Member of Parliament asks questions to whom? To the Prime Minister and Council, to the Executive, to gather information on the working of the government. This is how the Parliament controls the Executive. So through the medium of questioning, members draw the attention of the government towards its loopholes, its khamia. So government comes to know about the views and opinions of the people through their representative, the MPs. So it's a very important responsibility of the members to question the government. The opposition party, the party not in power, plays a very important role in the effective administration of democracy, because they ask the questions. The ruling party will not ask questions. The opposition party will find questions. वो government का loopholes खामियां ढूंढती है. of the policy and program of the government, and puts it. The person who presides over the session in Lok Sabha is known as Speaker. That's what I just said earlier. And now, the President is the most important and integral part of Parliament. A bill that is passed by both the houses can become a law only after the signature of President. He has the power to decide about the meetings of the Parliament, and he can announce the completion of the sessions too. So President has given more power also. So you can see in general we saw in this chapter about the President, the Lok Sabha, the Rajya Sabha, that is the Parliament, and then we saw about the government, the executive, the Prime Minister and the Council of Ministers, how they are elected and what is the role of election and what is democracy in short. Just finish the entire chapter. Look at the question answers and try to find the answers and learn them. They are very simple answers and very important also. Okay friends, it was a comparatively long video. I thought let's finish the whole chapter in one long video rather than making two small ones. Alright, thanks for watching. Bye.